Iowa's offenses through 6 games, Ohio State has scored 41 touchdowns on offense. 41. Through 6 games, Iowa has scored 7 touchdowns on offense. So in honor of the 35 points that they've scored on offense, I put together 35 extremely true facts about the Iowa offense as compared to the Ohio State offense. The last time Iowa played Ohio State was Brian Ferentz first season as offensive coordinator, 55-24, right? 24 game. Nate Stanley threw for 5 touchdowns that day for Iowa in the last 4 seasons since the Indiana game in 2018, which is like the early part of October. So the last 4 years, 365-day spans, no Hawkeye quarterback has thrown for more than 3 touchdowns in a game. CJ Stroud is doing double that virtually every week. So since October 1st, 2019, Hawkeye quarterbacks have twice as many games with 3+ interceptions, 4 of those, as they have with 3+ touchdowns, 2 of those. Iowa has held opponents to 10 points or less in 5 of 6 games this season, and the record is 3-3. Iowa has lost twice this season in games where they have allowed 10 points or less. Tony, how many times in the last 30 years has Ohio State lost a game in which they allowed 10 points or less?
Offhand, I don't recall any.
They lost 10-7 to Michigan in 2011, and that was that game where Ohio State scored a touchdown on Michigan State. Yes, they scored a touchdown on that last play of the game to make it 10-7. Yes, that's the only time. Before that, they lost to Illinois. I think it was 10-7 in 1991, and then they lost to maybe Wisconsin, and it was 9-0 or something in 1982. So in the last 40 years, Ohio State's done it twice. In the first 6 weeks this year, Iowa's done it twice. Iowa currently ranks 120th in the nation. Ohio State averages more passing yards in a half than Iowa does in a game. Iowa's rushing attack, unfortunately, not quite as dynamic as their passing attack, 127th in the nation. Ohio State averages as many yards rushing in 22 minutes of game action as Iowa does in a full game. Iowa is the only team in the nation to rank 120th or worse in both passing and rushing this year. They're way better in explosive passing plays, 36 passing plays of 10+ yards this season. That's 118th in the country. So moving on up, Ohio State one play short of doubling that. They have 71. Iowa to 36. Iowa's one of 14 teams without a passing play of 50+ yards this season. Ohio State has 4. Iowa is tied with Temple for the fewest rushing plays of 10+ yards this season with just 12. Ohio State has as many 20 yards runs as Iowa does 10-yard runs. Iowa all the way up. We are skyrocketing up these boards now, Tony. 115th in the nation with 4 rushing plays of 20 yards this season. Ohio State has as many 40-yard rushes this season as Iowa does 20-yard rushes. Iowa averages 2.62 yards per rush, 128th in the nation. Tony, if Kirk Ferentz's dad believed him enough to go for it on 4th down, 2.62 yards would get you a first down. However, Kirk Ferentz does not believe in his son because Iowa ranks 131st in the nation, dead last, just 3 4th down attempts all year. Brian Ferentz, however, has proven his father's utter lack of belief correct. He's converted 0 of these 3 attempts, the only FBS team without a 4th down conversion this season. Like I said, the man knows his son understands the situation. 4th down, not the only time Iowa struggles. Hawkeyes have converted only 24 third downs all season. They've converted an average of 4 third downs per game, 125th in the country. You got to be fair, though. Their plotting pace means they have had fewer third down attempts than many teams. So you got to look at it a little bit more advanced and at a percentage basis. They're converting 29.6% of their third downs. That moves them all the way up from 125th in the country to 124th in the country. So, Tony, I think you owe Brian Ferentz an apology. Iowa has scored 9 touchdowns this season. 2 of those were scored by the defense. So 7 offensive touchdowns ties them with Colorado State and UMass for the worst in the nation. Ohio State scored 7 offensive touchdowns in the first half of its game against Michigan State last year. Iowa has scored 7 offensive touchdowns in 6 games. Hawkeyes have thrown 2 touchdowns this season, tied for 129th in the nation. Tony, we're not even halfway through this list. I cannot tell you how many bad Iowa football stats there are. CJ Stroud threw for more touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, in a 6-minute and 15-second span during the second quarter of the 2022 Rose Bowl. More touchdowns in the 6-minute and 15-second span than Iowa has thrown in 6 games this season. CJ Stroud threw for more touchdowns in both the first quarter and the second quarter against Michigan State in 2021 than Iowa has thrown for in half of the regular season this year. Iowa was 127th in the nation in rushing yards, 493. and they are 127th in rushing yards per game, just in case. Again, we want to make sure we're not skewing things because fewer games. Yes, 127th, no matter how you count it. Now, in fairness, they may not be good at scoring touchdowns, but they're also not good at getting first downs. They are 131st, dead last in the nation, 13.3 first downs per game. They are 123rd in rushing first downs via pass, 99th in 127th in first downs gained by rush, 123rd in first downs gained by pass. However, Tony, 99th in first downs gained via penalty. So as long as the other team hands them a first down, that really improves their chances of getting a first down. They are all the way up to 106th in the nation in sacks allowed. However, Tony, they have really, really helped out the punting unit. So here, let's end on something positive here. I still have like 10 more, but I'm gonna stop and at least let you talk for a little while. Iowa is in top 10 in the nation in most punts, 9th there, punting yards, 2nd there, punts per game, 3rd there, and punting yards per game. Tony, 1st in the nation, Iowa Hawkeyes football. That's where you hang your hat.
Well, I think that's impressive, yes, but really, and they do have an Australian punter, I believe, they could be doing that with an American as well. And so that doesn't really say much to me. They could have some random American punter, some Joe Blow off the streets of, I don't know any cities in America right now off the top of my head, but it could be anybody. And they're still going to be leading the nation in punting yards. So you lost me at that one.
You could be an American from any American city, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, any American city that produces punters. Tony, okay, let's talk about last year. Kirk Ferentz, we talked about, Kirk Ferentz saying we won 10 games last year. I don't know if you're aware of that, and defending Brian. Well, listen, he's not having a good year this year. Tony, last year, Iowa ranked 99th in the nation in scoring offense, 102nd in the nation in rushing offense, 109th in passing offense. They lost 4 games. They scored 7, 3, and 17 points in their 4 losses. And we talked about this before we hit record. Otherwise, this would have been a great one for me to throw at you and try and stump you. They scored more than 2 touchdowns on offense against a Power 5 opponent 1 time in that 10-4 season. 14 games, they scored more than 2 touchdowns on offense once. They are Iowa's defense is 3rd in the country, 9.8 yards per game. They have lost 3 games. The only other team in the top 15 in points allowed per game with 3 or more losses, Tony, do you know who it is?
No, give me it.
Iowa State. Is it time to kick Iowa out of the United States and go to 49 stars? 49 stars in the flag. Tony, I say maybe. I think it's maybe time to have that conversation. Iowa's defense has finished the season ranked in the top 15 in points allowed in each season since 2018. Every season they've been in the top 15 in points allowed. Never been a better bowl than the Citrus Bowl over that time. The last time they scored 28 points in a game, Tony, Black Friday last year against Nebraska, but that took a block punt for a touchdown and also a safety. Brian Ferentz's offense scored 1 touchdown that day. They scored 33 points with the week before that, but it took a kickoff return for a touchdown and also a pick 6 to get to 33 points. The offense once again managed exactly 1 touchdown. The last time Iowa's offense scored 4 touchdowns in one game, October 1st, 2021 against Maryland. Ohio State's offense scored 4 touchdowns in the span of 11 minutes and 1 second in the first quarter against Toledo this season. Then they scored 4 entirely different touchdowns in the span of 12 minutes and 58 seconds between the end of the third and the start of the fourth quarter of that same game. They scored 4 offensive touchdowns in less than a quarter against Wisconsin in the span of 13 minutes and 40 seconds. And Tony, in 5 tries, a Brian Ferentz offense has never scored 4 touchdowns against Wisconsin. Tony, I'm out of Brian Ferentz facts, and I never want to watch football again.